Hello world! In this tutorial we're going to learn how to build a random meal generator. In case you're ever hungry and want to eat something but don't know what, this app will be perfect for you, or for your friends, or for your family, or your dog even. Alright, you can see here we have this nice blue button. If we click, we'll get a nice meal, in this case a full English breakfast. Let's see, something else. Salmon eggs Benedict, which looks interesting. Alright, then you can see here on the left we have a nice image, and then we have the description, how to do it, also the ingredients and some extra information here. And at the bottom, if you're lazy and you want to watch a video instead, you can watch it here. Or if you don't like the recipe, you can go up here and click again the button. You can click it as much as you want. Awesome! Let's learn how to build this. Alright, so here we have an empty CodePen project as usual, and first let's create the HTML. We're going to have a container, and inside it we'll have a row which will center everything. So a row, and it will be text center. We're going to use the skeleton CSS framework, so it will help us style everything faster. Alright, inside it let's add an H3. Feeling hungry. Underneath it let's have an H5, get a random meal by clicking below, and a button, get meal, and let's put a hamburger. Okay, this button will have a class of btn primary, and also we'll need an ID on it, get meal, so we can target it in the JavaScript. Perfect. Let's import the skeleton CSS so we can have some basic styling. Skeleton. Okay. Oh, and it's not btn primary, it's button primary. Should be blue now. Perfect. And the last thing we need in the HTML will be the container for the meal that we're going to get from an API. Div with an ID of meal. Let's have a class on it. Row and meal. Now it's empty, but we're going to add the meal inside it later in the JavaScript. Now let's go actually into this JavaScript and make the request to that API. So first, let's target the elements. So we have the meal button. So get meal button, which is document get element by ID, get meal, like that. And we have the meal container. So meal container will be document. Let's copy this over like that, and here we have meal. Perfect. Now every time we click the button, we want to get a new meal from the API. Get meal button, add event listener. On the click, we want to call a function. Perfect. We want to fetch an API, and the API we're going to use is from TeamMealDB. You can see here they have this nice API with a lot of ingredients and meals, and we can use this free JSON API. Actually, we're going to use this API, which will give us a random meal every time we call it. So let's see how our response might look. So you can see we get back a meals array with only one object. So keep this in mind, we're going to have an array with one object. Then we have the meal title, the instructions, the area, category. Let's see, we have the thumbnail, the YouTube link, and we have here 20 ingredients. I'm not sure why they did it like this. I say it would be better with an array, but yeah, we need to keep this in mind. So basically there are 20 ingredients, but the last one are empty. The same for the measures. You can see we have here 9 ingredients, 9 measures. If we refresh to receive another meal, you're going to see 15 ingredients and 15 measures. This is something they did, so we have to keep this in mind where we're going to construct our HTML from the response. So let's call it fetch, and we have the link here, random php. Okay. Next we use the then to convert the response, JSON, and again we have the response here, the data, and we're going to create the meal. So create meal. This will be a function we're going to create in a moment, and we're going to pass response meals 0. So the first meal, because as you saw, let's see, here there is an array and only one object. So we want to take this object. Perfect. Now let's create that create meal function. Create meal, which will take in the meal. Now let's construct our new meals container inner HTML. So meal container inner HTML. Here we're going to put everything inside, tags and all of that. Perfect. So we'll have a div with a class of row. The image will be in another div, the class of columns and 5. How skeleton CSS works is that it has 12 columns. So we're going to use 5 of them to place the image. So image source will be from the meal. We'll have string meal temp. So this was the property. Let's check. Meal temp. Okay. And we can also add an alt to be meal image. Let's close this div. And let's for now close this div also. Okay, so apparently I did a big mistake here. I added these backticks, which are not required. I was wondering why do we have an error, so I looked into it and I found out that there shouldn't be any backticks there. Alright, now if we did it correctly, which we did because I checked behind the scenes, then we should get an image when we click the get meal button. Perfectly, look at that. If we click again and again and again, we get other images. So that means that our call to the API works. Alright, look, we have these console logs I added to check it. So yeah, perfectly. So it works. We just have to construct the entire page now. Alright, so as I said, the image will be in a column 5 div. So considering that we have 12 divs, the rest will be in a class of column 7. Here we'll have the meal title and then the instructions. So let's put the meal title into an h4 and the instructions will be in a p tag like that. Meal string meal, and here meal string instructions. So like we have here, instructions and meal. Perfect. Let's see if it works. If we click it, alright, you can see it works. So big. We should have the image on the left and the text on the right. For some reason it doesn't work now. Nevertheless, let's add all the HTML structure and then we're going to look into the CSS and what's wrong. Okay, so under the image here, we're going to have a couple more informations. We'll have the category, the area, and the tags. So let's see. The category all will be inside a p tag, and then here in the struct I will say something like category, and then here we're going to have the category like that. So let's close the p tag, also close the trunk tag here, and here we can say meal that string category. So if we refresh now, call a new meal, you can see category in the strong tag and it says beef. Okay, we can copy this over 2 more times. This will be area, so string area, and this will be tags. So tags. Okay, let's get the meal again. Okay, And you can see the tags have a comma here, but I also like to have a little space. So what we can do is to say split by the comma and then join back by the comma and a space. So that basically converts it to an array, and then we convert it back to a string with a comma and a space. So let's see what that does. You can see now it added a little space there. This is just for some formatting, nothing special. Next, an important thing will be the ingredients. This will also go here underneath this, and let's say we put a nice title saying ingredients like that, and here we have the ingredients, which will be inside of an unordered list like that. Now the only trick with this is, as you can see, here we have all these ingredients, but some of them are missing. I mean, they only have 15 ingredients, or if we refresh, you can see this has 12 ingredients. So we have to find a way to combine them. So what I was thinking, we could loop over them and create an array. We're going to construct a new array, ingredients, which will be an empty array, and then we're going to create a for loop, which will go over all the 20 properties. So for I equals 1, I less than equals to 20, because we have 20 properties, I plus plus, like that. And here we can check if the meal has the following property, string ingredient, and we can pass in the I. So does it have string ingredient 1? If it does, we can push it to the ingredients. So ingredients push. And here we're going to construct another string because we want both the ingredient and the measure next to each other. So we create another string here, and we'll say meal string ingredient I, but then we need a backtick here and here like that. Okay, let's increase this and maybe push this on the next row. Okay, so we have the string ingredient, and we can have a dash here, and we're going to paste the same thing. Here will be string measure. Okay, so let's go over it again. We're going to loop over all the possible 20 ingredients, and if we find it, we're going to push it into an array. Or we can also have an else statement here to break. So if we reach to 12 and there is no ingredient, we can break out, because we know from the API that all the following ingredients will be empty. Good. Let's see what we have here in the console. Console log ingredients. If we did everything correctly, clear this, okay, and if we get a meal, we can see nicely we have butter, 175 grams, and so on. All the ingredients with the measure in an array. So we can use this data here. We can loop over the ingredients, map over actually, and for every ingredient we can create an li like that, and here we can create an li, and inside it we can paste the ingredient like that. Let's see what we have now. So if we click the get meal, you can see we have the list of ingredients. Very nice. But we have a comma here. That's because we need to join it back to a string, because it's an array now. So we join it back to an empty string, and now if we click the get meal, you can see the nice list of ingredients. Very nice here. Perfect. One last thing to have here will be the video. So let's add it below here. Let's see, we have a row. Let's create another row underneath here. So div class row. Okay. And here we'll pass the video, which will go inside an iframe. Let's see, we're going to have an h5 tag, which will say video receipt. So just a little title here, and then we're going to have an iframe, but it will be inside of a div with a class, and you'll see in a moment why. So div class video wrapper, and div like that, and here inside we'll have the iframe with a source. So basically what the API gives us is the entire video URL from YouTube, but this won't work for an embedded video. So we need to take out the ID and paste it right after the correct YouTube embed URL. So let's do that. So here we have the correct URL. You can see youtube.com/embed. Now we need to get out the ID. So this portion, right? Let's see. We have the string YouTube like that, and we can slice it. But we need to take the last, let's see, how many characters? 11. So we can do slice -11. And now we should get the correct source for the iframe. Let's close it and see if it works. Something doesn't like. Oh, that's because we forgot to say meal dot string YouTube slice. Okay, let's see now. Perfect, we get the meal. Let's see the video. Look at that, we have the video now. So yeah, it's a little bit tricky. I had to find a way to work around because the default YouTube string doesn't work. Let's see why we had to add this class. Well, that's because you can see here the video is very small and it's not very responsive. So I found a workaround on the CSS Tricks website. I'm going to put a link in the description below, which helps us with this issue. So let's add that CSS and we can paste it in. I'm not 100% sure why this works. They have an article and you can read about it. But now you can see the video is nicely responsive. If we zoom out, it will get bigger and smaller. That's perfect. Now we have all the data on the screen. What's left to do is to style it around. So I have the CSS for that. Let me paste it in here above so we don't spend the time with that. Basically, it just formats the tags, adds a little bit of spacing around the elements, like that. But for some reason we still don't have the image on the left and the description on the right. I found the issue. It was because I forgot an S here. So columns on both of them. Because of the text center here, we have everything centered. And if we click the get meal, you can see nicely we have the new meal. The image is on the left and the text is on the right. And here we have the video also, which is perfect. And if we scroll down, you can see that the skeleton CSS kicks in and we have a nice responsive app, which is perfect. Now every time you're hungry and you don't know what to eat, you can come to this application, randomly get a meal. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!